Welcome to the deep dive. If you're learning English, there's something I bet you've experienced maybe even recently. It's that feeling, that nagging feeling of comparing your progress to other people. It's almost automatic, isn't it? You see someone online, they sound incredibly fluent, or, maybe someone in your class picks everything up super fast.
Right.
And suddenly your own journey feels, well, a bit slow, maybe even inadequate.
That's such a common thing.
Yeah.
Really common. And it's exactly what we want to dig into today.
Good.
Our mission here in this deep dive is really to help you, our listener, kind of break free from that comparison trap.
Yeah.
We want to explore why it's not just unhelpful, but can actually hold you back. And more importantly, how you can really appreciate, celebrate the unique path you're on as an English learner.
Okay, so we've looked at some, fascinating angles on this. We'll be touching on the psychology behind it all, why we even compare ourselves in the first place, the huge diversity of English as a global language, which might actually surprise some people.
It probably will.
And then some really practical strategies, stuff you can start using today to keep your focus where it belongs, on your own growth, your own achievements.
That's good.
Okay, so let's really unpack this comparison trap. Specifically for language learning, what does that actually look like day to day for our listener?
Well, at its heart, the comparison trap in language learning is that almost constant tendency to check your own English skills against how others are doing.
Right, like a measuring stick.
Exactly. And it's not just a quick look. It's often this deep-seated habit. It's rooted in what psychologists call social comparison theory. Basically, as humans, we have this innate drive to understand ourselves.
Okay.
And a common way we do that, comparing our skills or abilities to the people around us.
Right. It makes sense. It's like a mental benchmark, isn't it? But why do you think it feels so, intense with language learning? More so than, say, learning guitar or getting better at tennis?
That's a really good question. I think language is just so tied to our identity, isn't it? Our sense of self, how we connect.
Yeah.
It's a very visible skill. And when we make mistakes, which, let's be honest, are totally normal, essential even.
Oh, yeah. Part of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can feel really personal, like it reflects on us somehow. Plus, there's often this perceived ideal out there, this idea of sounding native.
Ah, yes. The native speaker ideal.
Right. And that can create a very high bar, often a completely unrealistic one, for you to compare yourself against in your own mind.
And wow, social media has really poured fuel on that fire, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you're just scrolling, right? And you see these perfectly polished videos, people speaking seemingly flawless English or celebrating huge fluency milestones.
Yeah.
It's really hard not to feel like you're falling behind or just not keeping up.
Totally. The stuff we see online is so often curated, it's a highlight reel. Someone's best moments, often after tons of takes or editing.
Right. You don't see the messy bits.
Exactly. You don't see the hours of practice, the frustration, the mistakes they definitely made to get there. These little snippets of effortless fluency. They could build up really unrealistic expectations for learners like yourself. It's interesting, actually, how our brains get tricked. There's this cognitive bias, the availability heuristic. We might sort of overestimate how common something is, like perfect fluency, just because we see so many examples online.
That makes total sense. You see those day 30 to fluent posts and you think, hang on, I've been doing this for years.
Well, right. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah. And I guess the algorithms don't really help either, do they? If you watch that stuff, you just get shown more of it.
Precisely. The algorithm wants to keep you engaged, right? And often that means showing you aspirational stuff, which might seem motivating, but if your own progress doesn't look like that, it can actually make you feel worse.
Like an echo chamber of perfection.
Yeah, kind of.
But it's not just online, is it? I remember back in my university language classes, my English classes, there were always a couple of native speakers.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, just hearing them talk so naturally, so easily, sometimes it made me feel like, what's the point? I'll never sound like that. Did you have anything like that?
Definitely. Even in, traditional classrooms, you get the star student effect.
The one who gets everything instantly.
Right. And that person, even unintentionally, can become this benchmark that just feels totally out of reach for others. And then there's the fear. So many learners feel scared to make mistakes in front of classmates.
Oh, absolutely.
And that fear gets worse when you're constantly comparing yourself. You worry your mistakes make you look, less capable than everyone else.
That fear of speaking up, putting yourself out there,
Oh,
because you're worried you won't measure up. I've definitely been there. Actually, it reminds me of a time in one uni English class. Like you said, there were those seemingly effortless native speakers. And I specifically remember feeling so self-conscious about my pronunciation, even when I knew the grammar was okay. It
yeah,
was really quite disheartening.
I can relate. I remember feeling pretty self-conscious about my accent once after hearing this very famous actor speaking English in an interview. Just sounded so perfect.
Right.
And it wasn't even logical. Like, that's their job, clear communication. But that feeling, that I don't sound like that feeling, it was still there, even for me.
Wow. So what are the real consequences then for our listener if you get stuck in this comparison trap? It's more than just feeling a bit down, right?
Oh, it absolutely is. When you're constantly comparing and feeling like you're falling short, it can really chip away at your motivation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Learning a language takes time, takes consistent effort. If you're not enjoying it because you're always looking sideways at others, it gets so much harder to stay engaged, to keep learning. And that can lead to more anxiety, more stress, specifically around speaking English, a real fear of making mistakes, even in, normal situations.
Which is just so counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because making mistakes is, well, it's how we learn, especially language.
Exactly. And over time, this constant negative comparison, it can really damage your self-esteem. Your confidence in your language skills just plummets. It could even lead to what psychologists call a fixed mindset, where you start believing language ability is fixed. You're either born with it or not.
I'm just not good at languages, that kind of thing.
Precisely that. And if you don't feel naturally good, you think you never will be. And this fear of comparison, unfortunately, it can create a really vicious cycle.
How so?
Well, you get so afraid of not measuring up that you might start avoiding chances to practice speaking.
Right.
Which, of course, just hinders your progress even more.
Wow, that sounds like a really tough cycle to break. So thinking back, have you ever felt personally discouraged by comparing your English to someone else? It's something I bet a lot of our listeners can really relate to.
Oh, for sure.
And if that resonates with you, listening right now, we genuinely love to hear about it. Please feel free to share your experience with us on social media platform. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's move towards a more empowering perspective.
Yes, let's. It's so important for you to celebrate your own unique English learning journey. And one of the first things to really grasp, to appreciate, is just how diverse the English language itself actually is.
Absolutely. I mean, English, it's not just one single thing, is it? There are so many different accents, dialects all over the world. It's fascinating just hearing the differences sometimes, even within one country.
Exactly. This idea of world Englishes really highlights that. English is truly global. Billions of speakers, huge range of accents, different linguistic backgrounds. There just isn't one single correct way to speak it.
That feels important to state clearly.
It really is. Think about its history. English has been constantly evolving, borrowing words, adapting to different cultures for centuries. The English in London now is different from Chaucer's time, obviously, but it's also different from English in Mumbai or Lagos or Singapore.
That's such a crucial point for listeners to hold on to. So if the language itself is this, rich tapestry of variations, why do so many of us learners put pressure on ourselves to fit this really narrow, often idealized idea of good English?
Well, it often circles back to those unrealistic ideals we talked about.
Yeah.
But it's vital for you to recognize that your learning journey is shaped by so many individual factors. They make it completely unique to you.
Like what, for example?
Well, think about your native language background. Someone whose first language shares, say, grammar structures or sounds with English might face different challenges.
Right.
And also have different advantages compared to someone whose native language is very different. Pronunciation might be a bigger hurdle for one person, grammar for another, depending on their mother tongue.
That makes perfect sense. And it's not just the first language, is it? We all learn differently. Some people are visual, some auditory.
Exactly. Kinesthetic learners, too. These different learning styles naturally influence how quickly and how well we pick up different bits of English.
Okay.
And then there's age, When did you start learning? And where are you learning? A kid immersed in an English school has a totally different experience from an adult doing self-study in their free time.
Vastly different.
Their motivations, their pace, the pressures they feel, all unique. And let's not forget, culture, personality, your own life experiences, they all shape how you connect with and use English.
So maybe someone traveling for work needs business English.
Right. While someone who loves movies might focus more on understanding slang or cultural references.
So when you actually break it down like that, all those different paths and influences, it really does seem kind of unreasonable to compare your progress directly to someone else's, doesn't it?
It really does.
We're all starting differently, traveling differently, even aiming for slightly different things with our English.
Exactly. And that is why it's so crucial for you to focus on what we call communicative competence,
Okay.
rather than chasing this often unreachable and frankly unnecessary idea of native-like perfection.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Communicative competence. What does that mean in practical terms for our listener?
Communicative competence, basically, it's your ability to use English effectively, appropriately, in real life.
So getting the job done.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's about being understood when you speak, getting your meaning across clearly, interacting successfully with others, even if your grammar isn't always perfect or you have a noticeable accent.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If you can order food and the waiter understands you perfectly, that's communicative competence right there. Doesn't matter if your pronunciation wasn't textbook for every single word.
So much more about getting the message across successfully than sounding like you were born speaking English?
Precisely. Having a non-native accent is not a sign of failure. Not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's proof. Proof that you've achieved something amazing learning another language. There are countless examples of incredibly successful people using English in business, science, the arts,
Yeah.
who are highly fluent, but still have their own accents. Think about it. You can probably picture someone right now.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm thinking of this scientist I heard interviewed. Her English was incredibly clear, so articulate, but she definitely had a distinct accent.
Right.
And it didn't take away from her message at all. Actually, listening to her, it almost felt like part of her presence, her identity.
Exactly. They overcame any self-consciousness they might have had and just focused on communicating their important ideas. Their advice to learners like yourself struggling with comparison, it would almost certainly be, embrace your unique voice. Focus on being understood.
This is such a valuable shift in perspective, really important. So, to get our listeners thinking about this personally, we have another question for you. What's one thing that makes your English learning journey uniquely yours? We would really love for you to share your stories with us. Use the #podcast hashtag.
Please do.
Okay, so we've looked at why we fall into this comparison trap and why celebrating our own journey is so much better. Now let's get down to the practical stuff. What are some actual concrete steps listeners can take to shift focus away from comparing and more towards their own progress?
Right. Okay, one of the very first, maybe most important steps is cultivating self-awareness and practicing mindfulness around this tendency to compare. Start paying close attention. Notice those moments when you find yourself judging your English against someone else's. What triggers it for you? Is it a certain type of social media post? A situation in class?
Yeah.
Talking to a native speaker?
Identifying the triggers.
Exactly. Once you can recognize when it happens, just try to acknowledge the feeling. Without immediately judging yourself for feeling it, practice a bit of self-compassion right then.
How does that look?
Just gently remind yourself, okay, I'm comparing again. Everyone's path is different. My path is valid. Something like that.
Just noticing it, acknowledging it, not beating yourself up.
Yes. And then building on that awareness, actively develop more self-compassion and work on fostering what's called a growth mindset.
Self-compassion first. What does that mean here?
It means being kind to yourself, understanding, patient, especially when you make mistakes, because you will,
Guaranteed.
or when you feel like you're not progressing as fast as you'd hoped. Instead of that negative self-talk,
I'm terrible at this.
right, try to consciously reframe it. So instead of, I'm just not good at English, maybe try thinking, okay, this grammar point is tricky for me right now, but I know I can get better with practice.
Intentionally changing that inner voice,
Oh.
okay? And the growth mindset, how does that help?
A growth mindset is basically believing that your abilities, including language learning, aren't fixed. They can be developed, improved through dedication, hard work, perseverance.
Okay.
So in terms of English, it means seeing challenges and mistakes not as failures, but as chances to learn, opportunities to improve.
Valuable feedback almost.
Exactly. Yeah. When you have that mindset, you're much less likely to get discouraged by someone else's apparent success because you believe in your own ability to learn and progress over time.
I really like that. It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect now, allows for the learning process. So how do we make this mindset practical? day to day.
Setting realistic goals. And, crucially, personalized goals.
Yep.
That's key.
Not just get fluent.
No. Forget vague stuff like that.
Yeah.
Think specific, achievable goals that actually match your needs, your interests, your learning style. Maybe it's being able to chat about your hobby confidently or understanding your favorite English podcast.
Okay, makes sense.
Then track your progress towards those goals. Keep a language journal maybe. Use an app. Or just take 10 minutes each week to reflect. What did I learn? How far have I come?
And celebrating the small wins, right? Even tiny steps forward.
Absolutely. Make a real point of acknowledging them. Reward yourself even. Did you finally grasp that tricky tense? Have a short, successful conversation. Celebrate it. That positive reinforcement really helps cement your progress in your own mind, keeps you motivated on your path, and also actively build a supportive learning environment.
Community.
Yes. Find other learners, online, maybe offline too. Share experiences, encourage each other, learn from each other's strategies, create a space where it feels safe to take risks, make mistakes, ask questions without fear of being judged. That's huge.
That sense of community, knowing you're not alone, it can make such a difference, can it?
A massive difference.
And finally, you mentioned a reflection exercise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just take a few moments, even just a minute or two. Really connect with your own unique English journey. Think back to where you started. Acknowledge how far you've already come. Identify some of your personal strengths as a learner. Just appreciate the progress you've made. And then maybe set some positive intentions for what's next. Even picturing yourself achieving your goals, a little visualization can be really powerful for refocusing on your path and building confidence.
Okay. Really useful practical steps there.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we really want to just underscore that key message again. The ultimate goal, the most valuable goal in learning English is effective communication, getting your message across clearly. It's not about chasing some, possibly unrealistic imitation of a native speaker.
Exactly. And there are just so many inspiring examples out there. Incredibly successful people using English as a second, third, fourth language, making huge contributions in business, science, arts, culture, all while keeping their own accents, their own unique ways of speaking English.
Absolutely. These amazing people didn't let fear of not sounding native stop them. They focused on conveying their ideas, their messages, clearly and confidently.
Yeah.
It really shows the beauty, the richness of linguistic diversity.
Yeah.
Your accent. It isn't something to be ashamed of or hide. It reflects your culture, your history, the incredible journey you've been on learning another language. It's part of who you are.
I really love that perspective. Choosing to see your accent as a strength, a marker of your journey, not a weakness.
It truly is. Successful communication, meaningful connection. It hinges on clarity of meaning, on connecting with people, not on having no accent. So we really want to empower you, our listener. Embrace your authentic English voice confidently.
Speak up.
Yes. Speak without hesitation, without letting fear of judgment hold you back. Your individual way of expressing yourself in English, it's valuable. It adds to the amazing diversity of the language.
So the final encouragement for everyone listening is really keep focusing on your journey, your incredible, unique journey. Take time to acknowledge, to celebrate every achievement, big or small, and remember to be kind to yourself, patient.
Definitely.
Language learning isn't a race against anyone else. It's a continuous adventure, lifelong discovery and growth.
Well said. And we would absolutely love to hear your thoughts, your experiences on all this. Please do share them with us on social media. Use the #podcast#.
Please do. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. We really hope this discussion has helped you maybe reframe how you see your own English learning journey. Feel more empowered, more confident.
Absolutely. Remember, your English reflects your unique journey, your background, your authentic voice. And that is something truly valuable, something worth celebrating every single day.
Please join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of language and learning.